Assalamu alaikum. Peace be upon you. Welcome to the inaugural episode of the 2015 JAMS season of JAMS Football Power Rankings and more with Kyle and Horace.
What's
I'm
going
one of
on,
your
everyone?
co-hosts,
Oh,
Kyle Smith, alongside my now teammate this year, Mr. Horace Hawk.
and how sweet it is to be back together. This time on the Gladiators.
Yeah, this time on a team that at least traditionally has had a winning resume. We haven't done a lot of winning in our tenure in JAMS, Horace, and I think, spoke about this ad nauseum last year, right? Both of us, we won a total of 4 games with GPAC in our 2 seasons with GPAC, right? And then we went and separated parted our ways, each trying to go on our winning ways, at least we thought, with different teams last year. Me going to the Titans, a new team with a lot of young talent, as it seemed. You going to VS, a team that has, made the playoffs the previous year, if I'm not mistaken, finished around 500, right? Looked like to be a team on the rise.
Yep, and then we just fell flat on our face, just as your team, the Titans, last year.
Yeah, I mean, we had 2 wins last year, and we had 1 tie, and one of our many losses actually came to you guys.
Well, it was a 6-0 game. It was a pick 6.
It was a 6-2 game, actually. There was a safety.
Okay.
Let's not forget. Actually came on a bad snap that happened by you.
What an idiot. Actually, it went through my quarterback's hands. Thank you very much.
Is that really what happened?
Yeah. Oh, actually, maybe that was another safety, and I feel terrible saying that.
Well, hopefully there won't be much more of that this year. But anyway, we want to welcome the viewers back. We thank, actually, it was quite surprising, being that we're back in the swing of football. We actually got a couple of requests. A couple of people came to us asking, hey, listen, are you guys going to do the power ranking show again? And my first question that I asked was, do you really want us to? I mean, I know we got 100-some viewers each week, but,
Wow,
you enjoyed it that much.
You didn't think people loved us?
I thought people maybe thought we were getting annoying. I remember some weeks after losing last week, some people would just go like, oh, I wonder what Kyle's going to say this week. Because maybe I doubted their team the week that they were playing us.
So I guess I'm the good cop in the situation? The good cop?
Everyone loves you, Horace. I mean, what's not to love?
All right. Let's talk about our new format. So this time, we're actually doing this through Google Hangout. Kyle, you want to tell us more about it?
Yeah, so we're using Google Hangouts, and there's many reasons for that. One of the things that we're thinking is our most popular shows, most viewed shows that we had last year actually came when we interviewed people. Now, that's not to say that we're going to interview people every single week, but maybe every other week. We'll like to showcase someone. And if we're starting now, obviously there's 3 weeks of playoffs, and we got an entire regular season, which is 11 weeks if you include the bye week for each team. We can get a good amount of interviews in this season. And we really like to do that because there's a lot of good people out there. There's a lot of players that have good stories out there. How they came to football, some of them, they had a storied playing career. They played their entire life, Pop Warner, high school, college, what have you. And then some people, they just kind of picked it up. They were a basketball player or whatever it is, and someone asked them to play in the Muslim Flag Football League. We want to kind of highlight these stories that people have to tell. Horace, what do you think about that?
It's a good way to show off our diversity. I'm for it. We get different views from different teams, some from the great ones, others from not as good ones. And, hey, us being both linemen, it'd be interesting to see a wide receiver or a corner's perspective of the game.
Yeah, and we did have some wide receivers and corners on last year, being we had Ganay on, we had our boy who's on our team this year, and he was on your team last year, Abdul Salam. One of the most underrated players in JAMS. And we also had on the captain of the Hurricanes, who is a very, very, very good team in their own right, Mr. Farouk. And exactly. And we want to have on some quarterbacks this year. And by the way, guys, as you're listening to this, if you think this is something that you'd want to do, you want to go on the Kyle and Horace show, the Horace and Kyle show, the JAMS Football Power Rankings and more show, if that's what you want to do, listen, just send us a request. You can email me at smith.kyle51@gmail.com, or you can email Horace at h27hawk, HAQUE, at gmail.com. if you have our number, just shoot us a text. Just come up to us on the field. And hey, listen, we're open to considering everything. We definitely want to have some people on. So you think this is something that you'd like? You want to tell your story? By all means, just let us know. So that's one of the reasons that we think we're going to shift over to the Google Hangouts format. Another reason is sometimes we'd be talking about plays last year, Horace. You know, I remember you telling me at length that there was this play where I think his name is Jeffrey, and the last name DeZuter, I believe his name is, from the Knights. He returned a punt on a very rainy, very, just football element type game where it was VS versus the Knights last year. Returned a punt, and you said that was a game changer, was it not?
It was. It was a dark and rainy 6 o'clock game, 7 o'clock game, and that punt return, he just shook basically our entire team to get through.
Yeah, and it probably would have been good for us to actually, right at this moment, actually go back and show that play. Look at that play. But what we want to do going forward, and what we're going to do going forward, is when we have plays like that, when we're talking about plays like that, how it was a game changer, we want to highlight that play. And what we can do with this format is, I'm sharing my screen right now, right? I can go on the JAMS website. I can look at teams. I can, pull up someone's stat sheet, whatever it might be. I can go and pull up one of those videos that's on YouTube or Vimeo and kind of show that play, and then we can dissect it, analyze it, what have you. So I think that's another reason that's cool to turn over to this format. It's also going to make things easier on me. I'm not going to lie. I just found out today that I'm teaching 6 classes this year instead of 5, which
all right,
came as a shock to me. But you deal with everything as it comes. Anything else, Harms, on why we want to switch to this format?
I got nothing else. I think we can jump right into the new stuff this year.
Yeah, so let's talk about same faces, new places. Let's talk about a team that is near and dear to our hearts that is making a return, and that is none other than GPAC, which, by the way, for those wondering, what does GPAC stand for? Is it like G Unit or something like that? GPAC, what exactly does that mean? Is it a pack of, is it a pack of lions or a pack of tigers?
I can't believe we're going over this right now.
I didn't plan on it. I definitely didn't plan on it. This is all just coming naturally. But GPAC actually stands for, just wait for it, Ghetto Pakistanis. Ghetto Pakistanis.
I don't know if everyone else could see my face right now, but I'm covering my face up. I'm face palming very hard, but okay.
Hardest is Pakistani, by the way.
No, not associated with GPAC right now.
Here's what I'm wondering, Horace. I'm wondering if all these new guys, and by the way, let's go on the GPAC roster right now. Let's see.
Technology.
Teams. How about that? Technology. Teams. Let's see. GPAC. And we got a couple new faces on there. Adam Yusuf, Al Hamda. Let's see. Ashar. Asher. I believe he spells his name with an E, not an A. But anyway, Azhar. Those are, they've always been with GPAC since the inception. This guy, Fadi, Fahim, he's obviously new. And Jay Patel, I believe he's new. Jeremy Antoine, Cameron, he was on the Titans last year. Let's see. Nick. I have a hard time believing Nick is actually Pakistani. Omar, I'm wondering if these guys actually know what the name stands for.
Well,
regardless.
Now they know. Now they probably know. Either way, it's a team that hasn't faced much success in this league. They're very small. They do have speed with them, but they don't have much skill on the line. And the question is, who's going to be their quarterback?
Yeah, actually, you know what? They do have 2 people that have had a long history of playing quarterback in this league. Omar Al-Khalaf, he started 10 games last year for the Titans, all at quarterback. And Azhar has started multiple seasons as quarterback for GPAC. So you wonder, they might be having a QB competition as we speak to see who gets the job. So
I think we'll see it tomorrow night. They play Friday Night Lights after our game, actually.
That is correct. They will be playing against the Union. More on that prediction and analysis coming up. But yes, so that is certainly going to be very interesting to watch going forward. So yes, GPAC, after taking a year hiatus, they are back in the JAMS League.
All right, so let's oh, sorry. Do you want to segue?
No, go ahead. You're my co-host.
Okay. So the next team, I played for them last year. They're combining the Victoria's Secret are combining with last year's last place team, the Game Breakers.
Yeah, the Game Breakers, see, they're kind of a team that, on some weeks they came out and played hard. I remember they came out and they played one of the top teams in the league and only lost maybe by like a touchdown.
Mm-hmm.
On other weeks, it was just like, for example, when they played you guys last year, when they played VS last year, Abdul Salam just torched them for about 160 yards about and a couple of touchdowns.
It wasn't good. He just lit them up.
Lit them up, literally. And, he had good games after that, but nothing ever like that game. So they obviously, they did not really have any success in this league. They were in for, I believe, 3 years. All three of our first 3 years, Horace and I have been in here since the 2012 season, which was Game Breakers inception season. And Game Breakers never really had any success, no more than a couple wins every year. And I think it's actually gotten worse as the years have gone on. Would you agree with that, Horace?
Yeah, it definitely has been easy. And then VS themselves they're facing a big roster turnover. They went from losing most of their starting linemen last season to basically an entire new offensive line.
Yeah, and they lost their MVP. Would you say that?
Yeah, I mean, Abdul Salam was one of the top players in receptions and interceptions last year. He was Darshak's favorite target. And honestly, it's going to be tough for them this year.
And not only that, but we talked about this at length last year. But Victor Campos, he was a player. You looked at him, top 5 in sacks every year in this league. 17, 18 sacks, 14 sacks, what have you. I mean, just a complete monster rushing the passer. And for reasons that I don't personally know of, he wasn't the same player last year. You told me that he sustained a back injury. Not sure how, but it just was a shell of his former self. And it doesn't look like that he's registered to play for this season at this current moment.
Yeah, right now, Victor Campos is not registered. And last year, he did have a back injury. He wasn't able to get into the gym as much. And he definitely wasn't as fast as he used to be. Nevertheless, he was still a good player, just not as impactful.
Yeah. So interesting that we got a fusion of the teams, VS and Game Breakers. And we've seen this before. In fact, Boonton, their first year in the league, I believe, was also our first year in the league.
Yep.
And the next season merged with the Bounty Hunters. So they became the Boonton Bounty Hunters. I think most of the players came from the Boonton side.
Yes,
and they kept a couple players from the Bounty Hunters, if I'm not mistaken. I believe their captain Omar Shokir being one of them. But we've seen this before with those two teams. Have any other teams merged that you can think of? Because I'm having trouble thinking of any.
Let's see. I'm just looking at the list right now. There were a couple players from the Outlaws who went to Hurricanes last year. I think a few more Outlaws and Titans players also went to GPAC. I don't know how many, but that's all I can remember in recent memory.
Yeah, there's at least 3 Titans players that went over to GPAC this year. At least 3 or probably 4 that I can think of. Mm-hmm. So would you consider that a merger? I'm not exactly sure, but you could argue that merger for Boonton and Bounty Hunters paid off dividends because, Boonton, I think, was a pretty good team. Bounty Hunters was not good the years before they merged. Boonton was kind of, average. Mm-hmm. Next year, they made it to the championship and came this close to winning. Literally a Dave Kilkenny. 14
seconds away.
Yeah, it was. If you guys haven't watched that video, you need to go out and watch it. So let's talk. All right, so same faces, new places, some other turnovers. The Spartans.
Spartans get their quarterback back, and they add a big pass rusher, a guy you used to like. You want to introduce him to us?
Yes, that would be Mr. Hassan Hamdan. And I believe, in my personal opinion, that he's one of the most intense pass rushers in the league. You look at him and you think, I remember looking at him and thinking, like, I didn't think he weighed as much as he did. I asked, how much did he weigh? Because I remember him coming at me and he uses his hands really well, really powerful. He's like, I weigh about 220. And I was shocked. I thought he actually weighed less than that. But nonetheless, he's got a really good motor too. Not exactly sure why he left Boonton, but nonetheless, he did. They were decently successful last year, made it to the playoffs. Spartans didn't even make the playoffs. I don't know that he's ever played with Spartans before. He might have, but I thought we were going to see a team up, a new tandem of him and Ahmed Farag, who is now with Boonton this year. Mm-hmm. But for whatever reason, Ahmed Farag has so many friends on Spartans, but he won't play with them. No. Boggles my mind. But yeah, so as you said before, the Spartans get their quarterback back. Would you like to expand upon that more?
Well, 2 years ago, Big O, Omar Abbasi, he was on the Spartans, and apparently the season after there was a disagreement on how the team should be run, and then Big O moved to Code Red, and he played for a season there, basically a rental, a stopgap, and oh, you bring something up?
Yeah, I'm just pulling up the roster.
Okay, so I guess he didn't like Code Red as much as he thought, and now he's back with the Spartans.
Yeah, I think it's a fair statement. I mean, we're not saying anything that's not public information. I mean, last year, just think about it. When the Titans played the Code Red last year,
Mm-hmm.
Code Red had 8 guys show up to the game. Eight
And
guys. Now you need 10. And that's different than an NFL or a college roster or a high school roster for that matter, where you have 11 guys. It's only 10 in this league. But it was an 8 a.m. game. Only 8 guys showed up. I believe a couple guys might have been on Hajj during that time, but nonetheless, a couple other guys who didn't even have a legitimate excuse, as far as I know. I think Moyes, he did have a legitimate excuse. I think he was at a wedding or whatever. But nonetheless, Big O was really upset about this, and he actually posted about it in the forums. So much of his dislike. Come on, we only had 8 guys, and that game they actually lost that game in overtime. So they really did put up a good fight in that game for only having 8 guys. But you wonder if they had just one more guy, would they have won that game?
And this was a consistent issue with them. They had attendance issues every week. Even in the playoffs, they didn't have the full roster.
Yeah. But you saw when they did have at least a decent sized roster, when they had 15 guys, what happened? Week 1 of the playoffs, they go out and they upset Hurricanes.
Mm.
And not only that, but let's be honest, Horace. Who won the championship last year?
It was Swag.
It was Swag. Now, both you and I, we watched that playoff game, not in person, but Code Red versus Swag in the playoffs. And that was a really close game.
Mm. Yeah, it's a shame. But now Big O has moved on. Code Red is in a different place, and I'm not too high on him. But more on that later.
More on that later. Okay, so let's go on.
I think we should just have a oh, sorry, go on.
No, just the teams that left. Obviously, we said the Titans, they're not back, and the Game Breakers are not back. And I think we'll just leave it at that. And let's go on to let's make our weekly. Do you want to do our power rankings first, or should we do our predictions for? I think let's start with the power rankings.
I think we did power rankings before first anyway, so let's go with that.
Okay, sounds good.
So we open up at number 1, and it's opening week. They just won a championship. It's the Swagmanian Devils.
Yeah. And you know what? Let's be honest here, Horace, too. Last year, before every show, we always agreed on the power rankings. Now, sometimes it took a little bit of convincing one another. But this time, we're starting off week 1, and we couldn't even agree. We couldn't convince one another. So we went and made 2 separate lists this time.
I feel like having 2 separate lists just because we get different views, talk it out a bit.
It's talking points for sure. And you know what, though? There's no opposing views right here. Both of us, we think Swag, they're the defending champs. They play really well with one another. They're a pretty young team. They're not one of these teams that's older. I mean, let's be honest, Union, very good team consistently, but they are a little bit longer in the tooth than Swag. So let's give it to the young guys. Let's give it to the defending champs. They earned it. They deserve it.
Hey, I'll be honest. I don't think there's many teams beating Swag this year. They're just too fast, especially offensively. I've repeatedly called them the greatest show on turf for this JAMS league.
Yeah, and then, just so many different weapons, so many different ways that can hurt you.
Yeah, it's going to be tough to stop them on offense.
Yeah, and let's not forget either, they had a first-year quarterback last year, and he won him the championship. You can only imagine that with another year under his belt, a championship season at that he's only going to continue to grow. And I remember asking D'Lo last year, I know you played a lot of high school football with a lot of these guys. Was he one of them? And he actually told me, no, he wasn't. He was actually a basketball player at his high school. So, he's only kind of really learning the quarterback position. Obviously, he's a tremendous athlete, but nonetheless, Swag, number 1, no bones about that. No ifs, ands, or buts about that. Number 2, here's where we disagree a little bit.
Okay.
You're going to the consistent, older team, another team that has really played with each other throughout the ages, the Hurricanes. I mean, a lot of these guys, they played for East Brunswick High School with one another way back when in the 1950s. I'm just kidding. Just kidding.
Pretty close. But, yeah, I mean, I went with Hurricanes just because primarily one of the best players in the league is going back to quarterback after playing wide receiver last season. Dave Kilkenny a phenomenal quarterback. He went toe to toe with Rajab almost every year. That guy could throw bombs. If you go back and look at that championship game we were talking about against Boone Bounty Hunters, that guy just tossed 60-yard bombs like it was nothing, and they were accurate as well.
Yeah, there's no doubt about that. And by the way, anyone who wants to watch that game, there is a Vimeo account for JAMS. Just Google JAMS Vimeo. You can pull up a whole list of videos right there. And not only that, the newcomers to this league that are watching this for the first time, if the league continues to do things the way they did last year, and I believe that they are going to do that, pretty much every game is going to be recorded. Pretty much. I'm not going to say everyone. And the captains of those teams, you will get a copy of your game sent to your inbox. And now some of these games, they're actually listed as unlisted videos on YouTube. What that means is basically the only way that you can view that video is if you have the link. So, basically it's giving the own teams ways to critique themselves, see their mistakes, see what they did well, so they can kind of learn from that rather than just making it public information that everyone can go and research it. But with that being said, there's about 2 games per week that the JAMS will upload publicly onto their Vimeo account, which you can watch. And there's plenty of games from last season that you can go and watch. And we recommend that 2013 championship game of Hurricanes versus Boonton. So you definitely want to go check that out. You can access that right here. But yeah, I mean, you as you said it before, 14 seconds left, tosses up a bomb, and I believe that the guy who caught it, I don't think he's currently on Hurricanes. It's a bigger dude. I can't remember his name.
I think it was Kevin Scholl, actually. It was number 27.
Are you sure it's him? I thought it was the big dude, 88.
Huh.
But I could be wrong. We'll have to go back and check that.
All right, so how about your pick on the Union? Why are they number 2 to you?
Well, as far as I'm concerned with the Union, what happened last year when these two teams played head-to-head, Hurricanes Union? Remind me.
I actually don't remember, so you're going to have to remind me.
I think Union won. I could be wrong about that. All I do know is Union made it to the final, whereas Hurricanes disappointed emphatically in the first round.
Mm-hmm.
But I just see Union as a more consistent team. I think that I know you like Kilkenny, and I do think he's good as well. I do think Rajab is a better quarterback. I do think Mustafa Abbasi probably, I think it's safe to say that he if he's not the best receiver in the league, he's definitely one of the top 2 or 3. I feel very confident in saying that. I don't know that Hurricanes has a guy like that. I mean, I know Hurricanes, they've been playing with each other for a long time, but I just see Union as slightly more of a consistent team. Personally, when I've played against these teams, I've been more impressed with Union. So I'm going to put Union. I have much respect for the Hurricanes, though, and that's why I have them at number 3.
So I'll give my reasons for why I don't think Union is that high. I rank them 4th, and after watching the championship game in person, the Union they didn't have a chance against Swag. Swag destroyed them in all phases of the game. Their defense dominated, and we don't really talk about the Swag defense that much. But against the Union just looked slow. They looked out of it. They looked like they didn't want to play that much. And honestly, like if you look at the average age, I see a lot of people in their 30s, 2 guys in their early 20s. But
35,
otherwise,
36, 33, 31, 35, 35. Mm-hmm. They are up there in age, that is for sure.
And before, we were wondering if Rajab Abbasi was going to call quits or not.
We were wondering that, but you wonder, does he want to go out winning a championship, or does he want to go out with that nasty taste in his mouth of not winning a championship? So maybe after he wins it this season, maybe he'll finally hang up the cleats. Who knows? But here's my thing. Hurricanes, as far as I know, they almost didn't come back this season.
Yep.
So does that tell you that maybe they're questioning things? And I was looking at their roster too. What do they have? 15, 16 guys? I mean, that's far from a completed roster. They lost a couple of their good players. Their quarterback from last season. Now, you could argue Kilkenny, he's the one who won championships for them, not this other guy. Although that other guy, he was nominated to the All-Star team as far as I know. I don't think he played in that game, but he was nominated. And let's see. But they lost a couple of key pieces there. Is Randy Varbolo playing for them this year? He's one player that continually impresses me from.
That's one thing right now with the early season struggles. A lot of teams do not have their full roster together. So
Yeah, you better hope that Randy's on there because I think he's one of the best running backs in this league, and I am not seeing him right now. So it's going to be interesting to see for sure. But Horace, I got a bone to pick with you, man.
All right.
You have at your number 3 ranking the Knights. Now,
Uh-huh.
the Knights, as of maybe 2-3 days ago, finally registered to come back. So,
Yeah.
I mean, who do they got on their roster right now?
All
I
right.
mean, is this a full team?
There's a lot of
Please justify. Please justify. Please.
All right, you want to open the roster for me? And okay. So basically, they're bringing back a lot of their star players from last year. They have a very strong offensive and defensive line, and then they added Matt Burns to it. Matt Burns was one of the better pass rushers when he does play. Otherwise, the whole consistency of it all. They have good receivers. They won a lot of games without a proper quarterback. They beat you down.
And who's the proper quarterback this year?
It doesn't matter. Apparently, it didn't stop them last year. So
what happened to them in they played Union in the semifinal, if I'm not mistaken. What happened in that game?
I don't remember, man.
Oh, no, excuse me. They didn't make it to the semifinal. They lost to Dime City in a great game.
Oh,
it was a great game. It went to 4 or 5 overtimes. We were both at this game.
Okay. Well, I mean, that game could have gone either way. So
it really could have. And let's be honest, too. There was a couple drop touchdowns that would have won them the game.
So it happens in the game. But another good year from Omar Elgohel. Shout out to him, a good friend. Matt Burns is going to be a good pass rusher. Josh Gordon's a good receiver. Jeff DeZuter is one of the better receivers. And then Emmett Gabal, I believe, was.
But here's the thing: is Jeff DeZuter playing receiver? He made the All-Star game as a corner, safety, receiver, something like that. But let's be honest. They were at their best when this kid was playing quarterback. And although he wasn't a great passer, he was better as a runner. And he just made things happen. He's got football smarts. He played for TCNJ. Is that correct?
I think so. But either way, the fact that they won with a running quarterback without getting many passes completed, it says something.
You know as well as I do, in this league, 1st and 20, you need to be able to throw the football.
It is a passing league, but I got faith in them. Oh, look at that. There's no slowing him down. I don't think that middle picture is him, though.
Oh. No, it's not popping up, but whatever. TCNJ, right. There's no slowing him down. Okay, anyway, let's move on. Knights at 3. That's a travesty. You're wrong about that. You're going to see. Right. I like the Knights. Much respect for Ahmed Gebel. I think he's a good captain. Definitely a very heady football smart guy. He's a very good player in his own right. Made the All-Star game. But I think this team does need some work. It's a good thing they have a bye this week. I got Hurricanes at 3. I've already talked about them a lot. Let's go on to our 4. You got Union at 4. You already spoke about why you think they're on the decline. Let's speak about Dime City, my 4th team. This is a team, when you talk about a passionate group, this is a passionate group. Now, there were some rumblings. Don't ask how we found out, but nonetheless, you found out from your separate sources. I found out from my separate sources that Dime City, there was talk about them splitting up and making 2 different teams. That didn't happen, but go ahead.
I mean, I guess, yeah, you're right. It didn't happen, but they do bring back a lot of the same guys. The one big missing piece to notice is Dylan Frank is no longer on the roster, and they have filled out all 20 roster spots.
Which is certainly very disappointing because if you ask me, I think there's no question he's the best player on their team.
I mean, I'd say he's 1 and 1A with Mike Gordon.
You know what? Actually, I take that statement back. Dylan is very good, but there's also some really good guys that I'm leaving out here. Ahmed Harris, Gronkowski. I don't know if that's like a Gronkowski.
I don't exactly
spinoff. I don't know exactly what that is. But here's another reason why I have Dime City so high is passionate group. They got the leadership. Casey vowed, listen, I'm going to go back and I'm going to get a quarterback this year. Now, I didn't play against them. I didn't scrimmage against them. We did scrimmage against them last season, not this season I didn't do. But I heard from Boonton, who did scrimmage them, that they do have a new quarterback this year. He does have a live arm. So it seems like they got someone who maybe can throw the football. But you do know that if this guy doesn't work out, just as their QB last year didn't work out, Casey Dos Santos can step in and play, which, by the way, let's not forget, did make the All-Star game as a backup quarterback.
I mean, a lot of it is the big thing to notice is that his team did start winning once he played quarterback. It
Yeah,
wasn't they weren't very
there's no
pretty
doubt.
wins. It was very similar to Tim Tebow in Denver. That's how those wins played out.
I don't know about that. I don't know how many yards or touchdowns Casey was scrambling for, but every now and then you'd see him tuck the ball, and he might
I
have
don't
to pull
know.
up his shorts as he's running. But
I was talking about passing wise, but either way, he made it work. He didn't turn the ball over that much. He got their team to victory.
yeah, he did have some high quarterback ratings. Anyway, let's move on. You have Dime City at 5, so you're still pretty high on them.
Hey, look, we
And
agree
then
on something.
yeah, and then we have our team, the Gladiators, at 6. And I think we'll just leave it at that. I think we're both very confident with our roster, with our team that we got going forward. But we also want to be realistic. We were the last seed in the playoffs, if I'm not mistaken, last year. Didn't have a great record, and we're just going to go out and hopefully change that. We're going to let our play doing the talking. I think that's all we really need to say.
All right. So after that, we agreed again. Oh, we agree from here on out. Actually,
We do. Let's hold on a second. Wait a second, as Mike Francesa would say.
oh boy,
We didn't initially agree. You want to say what your initial rankings were going forward? At least the thing that I had to point out to you.
we'll talk about that when we get there. How about that?
Okay, fair enough. But we like the Spartans at 7. This team didn't make the playoffs last year, but they probably should have. And if they got good quarterback play last season, they probably would have.
Mm-hmm.
Now they got their quarterback back. He's got the rapport with the receivers, Shaddy and that group, Omar Kotanani. This team, they run a great screen game. Let's say that. I remember watching them years past with Big O as the quarterback, and they just run screens to perfection. It's a play action fake one way, screen the other way. You got guys pulling that know how to block downfield. It's really something impressive.
Their line is very good, and even though the receivers are a little bit shorter, they got speed for days.
Yeah, Omar Kotanani, I mean, so many times last year, I think it was 2 different occasions playing them last year, almost brought a kickback for the touchdown. Literally just had guys diving to save right before he scored. So he's certainly very impressive, consistent all-star in his own right. And they do have very physical guys at the line. Tarek Makawi, who is, by the way, the captain this season, is no longer Ahmed Kotanani. He's a great player in his own right. And I think that you say that he is probably the best center in the league. Would you say that?
I'd say he is, and I think there's a big gap between 1 and 2. He is the best center in the league.
Wow, certainly a very bold statement.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, let's move on. Let's go to Boonton, the Bounty Hunters. And they're a team that they went through a quarterback switch about mid-season last year, and it seemed to be pretty positive for that. And we had heard some rumblings this year that they were potentially maybe going back to their previous quarterback, who is now the quarterback of our next team, Code Red. That is Haroon Chowdhury. By the way, Haroon, in Boonton's championship run season, not last season, the season before that, he was the quarterback that led them on that attempted championship run, I should say. They came very close. And he's actually playing quarterback for Code Red this year. So Boonton, for whatever reasons, elected to not go with him, even though there were thoughts about doing that.
Mm-hmm. Well, let's see. Boone did miss out on Hassan Hamdan. They replaced him with Ahmad Farag, or Faraj. I don't exactly know how it's pronounced. I've heard both.
I mean, if you're Egyptian, I guess it's Farag. I guess if you're not, it's Faraj.
And they picked up, speaking of Code Red, they picked up Jason DeCandia.
That is a huge addition, and that is a huge loss for our next team, Code Red.
Mm-hmm. Oh, Code Red. This is a team that they weren't sure if they were coming back or not. They do have a lot of the same core pieces, but they need an offensive line, and they need one fast.
Yeah, and it looks like they lost some of their offensive linemen, too. I remember.
Wait, the ones that didn't show up to the games?
Well, here's the thing. When they won those playoff games, I'm pretty sure they had one of the Petrovich brothers playing on the line. I don't see him registered for the team this year. I mean, did you?
Wait, I think one of them's on Union now. Jasmine?
I did see that. I'm not sure if it's the same one. I believe it is, but I'm not sure about that. And if we are incorrect, by the way, please correct us because we want to get that right going forward. But yeah, I don't see him. Just look at the poundage on this team. The top guy is 250, Omar Khan. I remember him. He plays center for them. Other than that, it's 225, Devron Thompson. And Devron doesn't play line as far as I know. By the way, let's give him credit where credit's due. He was a great linebacker in college, played for Rutgers, but he's not a lineman.
10 years ago, but he is a good player in the league.
Yeah.
He plays all
Other
over the place in the league.
He does.
Hmm.
So a little bit of quarterback at times, some receiver at times. Anyway, let's move on. So Boonton, let's go over to their roster. One of the things that made Boonton so successful in years past was Boonton had great pass rushers. Talking to their captain, what made them good was having a great defensive line. They had a guy named Rich. They had Nick Musap. We spoke about these guys before. They don't have them this year, and they lose Hamdan, one of their best pass rushers, replace him with Farag. It's kind of like a trade-off right there. I would say that's about a toss-up between the two of them.
I'd actually say that Hamdan's better. I like Faraj as a person, but I just think he wasn't as good. He did a really good job of cleaning up. I thought he was essentially really good, like kind of lucking into the quarterback.
Here's what I'll say.
Mhm.
Farag might be better in the open field at chasing down a guy. If a quarterback gets in the open field, he's good at making the sack in that regard. He's probably better at one particular move than Hamdan, but I think Hamdan is more versatile.
Okay.
You can put him at D tackle and he won't miss a beat.
Otherwise,
Farag, he's going to line up the same spot, right side defensive end every single time.
otherwise, they have a great receiving core. Might be the best in the league. It's between them and Swag, with Brandon Bowen, Ardell Roberts, and Jason DeCandio. All
Yeah,
three of which are over 6 feet, which is a pretty big advantage.
question is, will Ardell be playing this year? He played in a couple games early on last season, but he missed a lot of their latter games. So that's a big question right there. Anyway, let's move on, Horace. Okay. So we talked about Code Red. I don't think we need to speak about them anymore. Let's go to VS, your former team, the purple team, which, by the way, scrimmaging them this past week, doesn't seem like the team is very high on their jerseys or their name for that matter. By the way, some of you guys who might be wondering, the previous 2 seasons, this has been registered. The team's been registered as VS. But if you look at the jersey, you read the jersey, the team name is Victoria's Secret.
I think I like the rebranding idea from Victoria's Secret to VS. VS, I guess, sounds a bit more mature than Victoria's Secret, which is like what your average 12-year-old fantasy football player names his team.
I listen, I like VS better too, but just take the stuff off the jersey then, man, because it's still on there. But
oh yeah, we're nitpicking at tiny details. But as for the roster, they experience a lot of turnover.
Yeah, and let's go look at their roster real quick. And you'll be able to tell me some of the guys that are holdovers.
I think there might be like 5 in total. All right, so let's start off with Atif. He was there last year. There's Darshak the captain, Dave Merritt the receiver, Deepal Patel, a lineman, all-around player, and then Kurt Dunbar. That's actually all 5. That was it. Not many. They just lost a lot of players this year.
Yeah, they did add some. I believe Zach Manley is one of their additions from the Game Breakers. I like his game. He's got a good motor, knows how to use his hands in the defensive line. I think that's a pretty good addition. Other than some of these new guys, I really can't say much about them. Not really sure who they are. So hopefully they can come and impress.
Okay.
But we do have our doubts, and that is why we have them ranked at number 10. Last but not least, let's go to GPAC, a team that we both hold near and dear to our heart. And let's be honest, I mean, we are very happy that they're back in the league, but we do have our doubts, no doubt about it. Right, Horace?
Yep, it's just a very, very small team. Yeah, they do have some heavyweights on there, but it's not good heavyweight. There's not many football players themselves there.
By the way, they have a new captain this year, Saif Raja, who is the brother of Altamash, if I'm not mistaken.
And what about Sikandar
as well? Sikandar also, he's not new to GPAC. He did play 2 seasons ago in the last GPAC season. He played center that season. So, pretty gritty player in his own right. But again, just as you said, small, 5'10", 180. That is a pretty small lineman. Osman Zaman, he's another guy who was a staple on the GPAC offensive line, 5'7", 170. There does seem to be some kind of new beef. Jay Patel, 225, Adam Youssef, 275. Will these guys be consistent? Because one of the problems that GPAC has had, which is a problem that honestly most teams that lose have, is poor attendance.
Mhm.
Once teams start losing, people lose, they lose desire to want to come, right? They think, oh, we stink. What's the point? We're not going to make the playoffs. Why bother showing up? Why wake up in a cold December weekend morning when I can just sleep in, right?
Yeah, and not only that, but they never got that quarterback situation settled. It's going to be a tough season for GPAC, but I think that wraps up our. Oh, go on. You're about to make
Yeah,
a
I was just
point.
saying tough sledding going forward, but hey, listen, that's one of the things that makes football great is you never know, who knows. But I think it's a fair statement that we both really have some serious doubts about GPAC. But for my boys, for certain people, Tucky Khawaja, Moise Khan, other people, I love you guys. I want to see the best out of you guys. I'm going to be rooting for you guys on most weeks. Definitely not when we play you, but there's a lot of love there. Anyway, so let's move on. Let's go to our predictions and then let's wrap this baby up. Actually, before we got
We have one more segment that we
I,
can talk about.
you
So,
are correcting me, and you are definitely right. So let's go to our predictions first, and then we'll get to that last little segment.
all right. So we're gonna do some preseason guesses at who will be the award winners. We're talking about championship team, MVP, offensive player of the year, defensive player of the year, and am I missing anything?
That is it.
Okay.
And the championship team.
Oh, I already said that. That was one of the first ones.
Sorry.
All right. So we both won quarterbacks for the MVP just because it is such a high octane passing league. Kyle went with his man Rajab. I went with Dave Kilkenny.
Yeah, just as you were saying, it's pretty much in all facets of the game. I mean, maybe not so much in high school, definitely a lot in college. I mean, it seems like every year the Heisman is a quarterback, right?
Mm-hmm.
This year was no different with Marcus Mariota, right? MVP this year, who was it? Was Mr. Aaron Rodgers, even though, you look at J.J. Watt. How could you argue? Has anyone ever had as good as of a season as that? But quarterback is just the most valuable position. So, I'm going to go with Rajab. I said on record last year going into the championship game, I said Rajab, best quarterback in the league, and I don't think it's even close. Maybe I'm going to retract that statement a little bit because maybe it is a little bit closer than I was thinking, but he's still the best in my opinion, and I really think that where would this team be without him? Swag was good in previous seasons when they didn't have their quarterback whose name is slipping my mind, which is really Horace, help me out here.
For some reason, I can never remember this guy's name. But it's Corey Kearney. It's Corey Kearney. The one time I actually do remember.
Thank you for saving my day. Corey Kearney, he's very good in his own right, and he might be quarterback number 2. Maybe Kilkenny's number 2. I think it is closer than what I was saying, but nonetheless, Swag was good without him. They weren't as good, but they were definitely good without him. So quarterback is the most valuable position, and I like Rajab there. You like Kilkenny there. And I think, what are your reasons for putting Kilkenny there?
Well, last year he took a break from quarterback just because he felt like playing wide receiver, and that's a testament to how good of an athlete he is. But when he was playing quarterbacks, he was as good, if not better, than Rajab at it. He could toss a long ball. He has no problems with accuracy. He's a great runner, just like Rajab, but he's just a phenomenal player. I'm excited to have him back at quarterback this year.
Yeah, there's no doubt about it. There's no doubt about it. And let's be honest. We did say this last year. I had questions. Why you're going off a championship year, or Hurricanes did with the championship? You're coming off a championship season. Why switch up the quarterback? And I understand they got a very good guy in Terrence Ty Smith, but why go and switch something that is clearly working? That did boggle my mind. I didn't quite understand.
I actually know the reason. I talked to Farrokh Shishri about it last year. The reason legitimately was because Dave wanted to play wide receiver. That's all there was to it.
Interesting.
All right, so offensive player of the year. You have Mustafa Abbasi. I have who I think is the most electrifying player in the league, Mike Gordon, the running back of Dime City.
Yeah, and let's just be clear. Offensive player of the year, this is exclusively, at least in our categorization, this is a non-quarterback award. I put Mustafa, again, maybe I'm a little biased. I went with 2 Union players. I know I picked them to win the championship last year. Yeah. But I really wonder, where would this offense be without him? I said the same thing about Rajab, but this is a non-quarterback award. But you look at Swag. They got D'Lo. They got Sweeney. They got Jay McPeters, their tight end for that matter. They have a good running back. His name is slipping my mind. He wears number 7, has the dreads. Some people have
Shaheem
said
Anderson.
Shaheem Anderson.
Mm-hmm.
Some people have likened him to what? Steven Jackson or something like
Oh,
that.
comparisons because he's blackening his dreads. Come on.
Let's not forget about our boy, Mr. Moss, who wears number 84 in the back of his jersey. And I can't believe his name is slipping my mind. By the way, this is the first time we've done this in many months. I guarantee you when we get on the next couple of weeks, we're not going to be, forgetting names like this.
Huh.
But it has been a while. So let's give credit where
It's a
credit's
guy.
due. Sean
Manny
McAllister.
Sweeney. Oh, okay. Never
Sean
mind.
McAllister. I didn't forget about Sweeney, but I shouldn't have forgot about McAllister either. He's got a great foot too, man. He can really – every time he kicks the ball, you're not going to be able to return it. It's going touchback every time. So I go Mustafa, best receiver in the league, in my opinion, just because he's getting the ball every play. It's very close. It's very close.
There's a lot of good receivers in this league.
Can
But
do a
either
lot
way,
of
I say
things,
Mike
too.
Gordon.
And even though he's not a big guy, Mustafa can go up there and catch the fade route in the end zone. I remember him, mossing Aaron Wright, who's, Aaron Wright's a good 6'1", can jump out of the gym. He's mossing him for a touchdown. He's a really good route runner. It's very close. D'Lo's up there. Sweeney's obviously up there. Had a little bit of a down year. I think he was a little bit injured. Now, your guy, I didn't think of this guy at first, but I think you made a really good pick here. Why Michael Gordon? You said most electrifying player in the league. Why is he?
He could just shake people in tight spaces. He was a dime save running back, and he was their offense for a large part of the season. That guy, he could return punts, he could catch, he could run. He does it all.
One thing, he does need to work on his hands a little bit, but when he gets that ball in his hands,
it's hard to stop him.
Yeah.
All right.
And you know what? We talked about that game last year, that playoff game. He returned a kick. Dime City was looking like it was game over.
They were down 2 touchdowns.
They were down 2 touchdowns. What sparked them was a Michael Gordon kickoff return for a touchdown. His team went nuts after that, and they never looked back.
All right, let's move on to Defensive Player of the Year because we're running a little long here.
We are, but hey, it's an inaugural show. We got a lot of stuff going, and we're going to keep these things shorter on most weeks. But Defensive Player of the Year, I got another Dime City guy, Ahmed Harris, who's got something going on with his name this year. But this guy is he's a do-it-all kind of guy. He can play linebacker. He can rush the passer. He can drop in coverage. He can catch balls. I'm sure if you gave him the ball as a running back, he could do some things.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe if you threw him back at quarterback, he can make some things happen. He's a do-it-all. He's a jack of all trades, Swiss Army knife, whatever you want to label him as. He can do it. He's really good at doing all of it.
He had a couple sacks, a pick, a lot of tackles last year.
Yeah.
But I'm going to go with, from the championship team, Dallas German. That guy, I actually didn't buy into how good he was until you told me about him. This guy's explosive off the edge. He just gets in the backfield like it's nothing. One of the better pass rushers in the league, and I think he's going to be on for a repeat performance this year.
And it's not just you, Horace. There was many doubters out there. I remember being on the conference call, the hours-long conference call, in which, by the way, I mean, listen, the board and the people that are part of the selection committee, they really put a lot of time into thinking about who should make this all-star roster.
You're kind of breaking up here, Kyle.
Okay, sorry. Is it still bad?
I think it's okay.
Okay, sorry about that.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of time that went into the selection of that all-star team. And not anyone, I don't think, considered him until I brought him up. So there's a lot of people that were kind of doubting this guy. But I'm telling you what, he actually made it as a defensive back, kind of because they had their pass rushers already set, but they needed another defensive back. And since he was such a good player, you couldn't leave him off. He came in, played corner. And I don't know if he had a pick. He definitely had a couple pass deflections if in the all-star game. He's just a good player. There's no doubt about it. He's a really good player. And you said that he just dominated in the championship game. No one could block him.
He had like 3 or 4 sacks. I think it could have even gone up to like 5 or 6, but I know he had 3 or 4 for sure.
Yeah, he seemed to be a player that just got better as the season went on. And I think that he's coming off maybe 2-3 seasons removed an ACL tear. And it seems like, maybe he's finally starting to get his knee under him and feeling like he's more confident. I remember when we played him 2 years ago, he had a sack and said, like, I'm back, that type of statement.
All right, so let's move on to our championship picks. I have the reigning champs repeating this year. I don't see many teams that keep up with them. They have size at receiver, so they can throw a jump ball whenever. They have speed at every single position. And their offensive line, I don't think it's that good, but it's good enough. Their defense doesn't get enough credit. What about you, Kyle? Who do you have for your championship?
I'm going to go with the same just because I think Swag was saying at the end, and I wasn't there in person, that they were chanting New World Order, NWO. They were going back to the WCW days. But I think we do have maybe a New World Order on hands here. I certainly do think there are teams that can dethrone them. I do think that this league is going to be more competitive this year, but they're just really good. And I don't know that some of these other teams that have consistently been good, I don't know that they've done enough to kind of make them.
You just kind of died on me there. Okay.
Sorry, I'm not exactly sure what's going on with the microphone right here. Can you hear me right now?
I can hear you fine.
Okay. Sorry about that. I'm not exactly sure what's going on.
All right.
I don't know that these other teams, Union, Hurricanes, that have consistently been good, I don't know that they have done enough to make themselves better. And age is wearing on them. So you look at Swag.
They're like 26, 27. Union's at like 35.
Not only that, Horace, but let's not forget, there's a guy on Swag last year, and let's see if he's on the roster this year. His last name is something to the effect of Lyles or something like that. Is he on the team this year? Maurice Lyles, number 72, 25 years of age.
Was
they don't
he
have
the
his
big
weight.
Defensive tackle?
The big defensive tackle. His weight is not listed here, but he's
a little
big,
shy.
He's a little shy, but he was dominant. And you wonder, can this guy play in more games than he did last year? And if so, I think the sky's the limit for this team. I mean, they could even be better than what they were last year, because he probably only played in 3 regular season games last year. He was probably just barely playoff eligible.
Mm-hmm.
With that, I mean, let's move on to our predictions, and then we really got to wrap this up.
Okay, so should we start off with the rapid fire pick'em?
Let's get it. And by the way, you can hear me clear, right?
You're coming in and out, but I think it's good enough.
Okay. Predictions. Code Red versus the Gladiators.
All right, so Code Red versus Gladiators, this is us. I will not ever pick against us. So,
yeah,
of choice.
I mean, I don't even think we need to talk about this. And we got to the point last year where we eventually just stopped picking the games that our team was involved in.
Is that because we knew that we were always going to lose?
Shh, don't give away our secret, but that's not the way we feel this year. Okay, so let's go on. GPAC versus Union, no brainer. I don't even think I need to justify it. I already have done that throughout the rest of the show. It's going to be Union.
Yeah, I'm tired of kind of crapping on GPAC for today. Swag versus VS, another game I think is an easy pick. Will VS surprise us? I don't see it happening.
Yeah, I mean, you look at these last 2 games, it's my top 2 teams versus my bottom 2 teams. And I'm going to go with, no doubt about it, Swag on this one. And I think we're going to have 2 blowouts on hand.
Mm-hmm. All right, Spartans versus Dime City. This one's pretty evenly matched. Who you got?
Are you going to make me go first? Spartans, Dime City. I'm going to go with the Spartans on this one.
All right.
Now this might, and then listen, I had Dime City ranked high, but I don't know who's playing quarterback for Dime City this year. I haven't seen him play. And I think that Spartans, they had a nasty taste in their mouth, being that how last season went. I think Big O realizes his potential as a quarterback, came so close last year, but he still decided, you know what? I see more potential with the Spartans. I think he sees something, and I think I see something with the Spartans. This might come as an upset. According to my power rankings, it's an upset. I'm going with Spartans.
Last year, one of their premier pass rushers, Salavani, got hurt, and now he's back with the addition of Hassan Hamdan. While Dime City lost their best blocker in Dylan Frank, I'm going to go with Spartans as well.
Wow. Okay. Boonton Bounty Hunters versus the Hurricanes. This is another more interesting matchup, a little bit more matchup that is closer than the second and third matchups that we spoke about.
A repeat of the championship from 2 seasons ago?
Yes. And I would say the rosters are decently different, though, than then. I'd say it's 2 different. They're pretty similar, but I think the way the teams are playing, I think it's very different.
I think this is like the matchup of the week, because these guys, they both have a lot to prove. Can Hurricanes be as good as they have been with their age, basically? And can Boonton Bounty Hunters put an offensive line together that actually gives the quarterback more than half a second of time in the pocket?
Yeah, it's certainly going to be very interesting. And I don't know that Boonton has honestly cleaned up their offensive line. That was certainly a big concern for them last year. I wonder what the attendance is going to be like. Is Ardell going to show up? You know.
Mm-hmm.
And by the way, can we confirm? Can we confirm if Shake is the quarterback for Boonton?
I mean, I don't see anyone else. He is on the roster though.
Okay, so I think it's safe to say that he is that. I really like his game. I don't know if he's been practicing with the team as much as they would like. I know that was an issue for them last year, but I think he's definitely one of the better quarterbacks in my opinion. I went on record saying that last year. Horace, who you got in this one?
I've been tuned Kilkenny's horn all day. I'm going to stick with him. I'll go with Hurricanes.
As am I. Hurricanes on this one. And I think it'll be a pretty good game, but I'm going to give it to the Hurricanes. I think that'll about wrap it up. Horace, any closing thoughts?
I mean, it's opening week. We start on Friday night. I'm excited about Friday Night Lights.
The return.
I guess all I could say is good luck to every team out there. Right now, every team is undefeated. Every team has the same shot at a championship.
As crazy as that sounds, it is very true.
Mathematically, at least.
Mathematically, at least. But,
all right.
Okay, let's close it off. Kyle, Horace, Jams, we're from the Gladiators. Guys, like we said from the outset, you're interested in getting interviewed or you nominate someone to get interviewed. Maybe you don't want to do it yourself, but you think someone on your team is worthy of it. Let us know.
And don't forget to comment and give us suggestions on how we're doing, basically. Anything you guys would like to see, any of that.
Yeah, I'm sure that this can be much better than what it is. So please, you guys are what's going to make it good. All right. Anyway, guys, assalamu alaikum. Peace be upon you. Until next time, we're signing off.